Hi, so let's get into today's video. We're going to continue Imprisonment of Obatala. I need to get this done quickly because this is a compulsory novel as well as Old Man and the Meadow. So Maru will be posted later during the day. So today we have to complete this one first, okay? So scene 4 opens up with the setting is Shango's palace and the Olaris. So the Olaris are his wives. Shango was a polygamist, so his wife, the group of his wives was called the Olaris. So the Olaris start singing praises. They're singing. Their words in their song are a dog follows its master around even when they do not know where the master is going. A sheep stays in the house even when they do not know that the master will kill it. We love Shango, we love Shango's company, but we do not know. So like the message in the song is simply means they follow Shango and they love being Shango's women, but he's unpredictable. They do not know what will happen next because they talk about a crab and how when it leaves its hole you do not know where it's going to go. Okay, so as they are singing all these praises, the servants that arrested Obatala walk into the palace and they say, we found this man stealing your war horse. His hands are long. Okay, basically they were just saying, we found him, he was trying to steal your horse, but we caught him before he could steal it. And Shango was furious at this point, and even in his fury he did not recognize that the person that they had brought to the palace was Obatala. So anyway, as he is so angry, he starts describing his horse. He talks about how strong the horse is. He mentions how the horse is loyal to him and how he has fought he has used the horse in so many wars that he has won. Okay, so then as after Shango explains and talks about his horse like this, he even talks about who dares to steal my horse. I mean, it's me. Because remember, Shango used to ride fire like a horse, so he was a very fierce man. So I think to him, he didn't expect his property to be stolen, especially in Oyo, where everybody knew who he was. Okay, so his statement was, "Who has the guts to steal my horse?" So as he's saying all this, Obatala responds and says, I know it's been a while since you and I met. It's been 10 years since we fought together side by side and got rid of the vultures and brought new life into our kingdoms. It's been a while, but friendship still lingers in the mouth like a bitter kola nut. Okay, so it tells him how even after so many years, Obatala still considered Shango his friend. So it was very weird that Shango did not recognize who Obatala was. So Obatala says a number of things, and something caught my eye that I want to read. Okay, so yeah, so he says the taste of friendship lingers in the mouth like bitter kola nut, like cassava carelessly thrown on the rubbish dump. Was proud. Even neglected friendships will not die. Have you forgotten all those days of feminine, when even Ogun, who baths in blood, was forced to turn peacemaker, and for once had to join us in pleading with Mother Earth to submit to the sky? So he talks about how they struggled, like Obatala Shango struggled to plead with Mother Earth so that Mother Earth could allow yam to grow in their grounds. Because remember, they had fought famine for a very long time, and it had been 10 years since life was better because they fought the vultures, they got rid of the vultures, they pleaded with Mother Earth. Even Ogun, who was the father of war or the god of war, joined them in pleading with Mother Earth for her to allow them to grow food in the ground and provide water and all that. So then Shango says, oh horror, like Shango at this point, I feel like Shango had already had realized who this thief that they had brought forward was Obatala, So Shango talks about, he starts saying, is it you, Obatala, who turns blood into children? Is it you, the father of laughter? Could I ever forget the day that we danced to your 16 drums? So 16 drums have been mentioned a lot in this novel. Obatala had 16 drums, and even in the beginning I forgot to mention, before he left his palace, there were 16 drums that were being played, and the women were saying, we're going to dance to the first 8 drums, while it's kneeling, and then we're going to dance to the last 8 drums with our buttocks in the air. So Obatala was known for his 16 drums. So Shango recognizes him and he says, "Is it you, Obatala? How can I forget the day we danced to 16 drums? Is it possible that the wisest of all should have become the most foolish, and the purest the most foul?" So it was, to me, Shango already knew that Obatala could not steal. It was weird that Obatala could be brought forward for theft, because Obatala was one of the purest people he had known. He was the father of children, so he was in good and regular standing. So he talks about how it's not, how can such an upright man become a common thief, you know, like how can he behave like a he-goat who tries to mount his mother? You know, how can he be so careless in his doings that he tries to steal Shango's horse? So then, because Shango is very furious, he orders his servants to take Obatala away. When his wife sees this Oya, she tries to like pump sense into him. She praises him still. Remember, praises were a big aspect in this novel. Praises and proverbs were a big part of this novel. So each time before someone is addressed, praises would be said first before you utter any other thing. So Oya, Obatala's wife, Shango's wife, praises her husband. She tells him, Shango, he who rides fire like horses, the man who thinks of nothing but the irritation of an itch and can easily scratch himself to the bone, the knife that thinks it's only destroying an old Sith, but in fact it's destroying its own house. So she was pleading with Shango to be patient. After she saw that Shango had arrested Obatala, she was pleading with him to be patient. But Shango's response was simply, it's easier to kill an antelope in the field than it is to kill a dog in your house. Okay. So he talks about how, yes, I think in his mind he was thinking it's easier to forgive an enemy. Yes, that was his point. It's easier to forgive an enemy than to forgive a friend. So he gave an example of an antelope, like how it's easy to kill an antelope in the forest and not kill the dog in your house. So Oya starts to comfort Obatala. She tells him, you think a worm is dancing, but that's merely the way it walks. You think Shango is fighting you, but that's merely the way he is. So that's her comfort. Like, you know your friend, Shango, that's the way he is. He doesn't hate you, but that's just the way he is. The same way that you would think a worm is dancing when that's the way it walks. Okay? So Obatala in this moment starts to remember Eshu, who throws a stone today and kills a bird tomorrow. So in all this that was happening, Obatala already knew that it was Eshu's doing that led Shango to arrest him. Because remember, like after Shango told the servants to arrest Obatala wanted to fight back, but then he remembered the prophecy that the Father of Secrets had given him, so he chose not to fight back. So as he was being taken to the prison cell, he remembers Eshu, and he doesn't really hold a grudge against Shango. It's more of him accepting that was his fate than it was about Shango arresting him and failing to recognize Obatala. Okay, so after so Shango then starts having a conversation with his wife. He is talking to himself. He's saying, but how can Obatala try to steal a horse that he cannot mount? It's the same way an old man marries young girls and yet he cannot like function properly in the bedroom. I will not say the words that I said in the book, but that was the meaning. Where he talks about how is it possible that an old man can marry young energetic girls when he cannot perform his bedroom duties. That's the same way that Obatala tried to steal my horse and yet he cannot mount it. So Oya starts trying to make the husband understand, saying, you know, friendship lingers in the mouth like bitter cola nut, okay? Have you forgotten how you fought side by side with Shango? Have you forgotten how his wives pounded white yams when we won the war? Have you forgotten how all the difficulties that you went through with this man? In fact, she even says, have you forgotten the trembling voice of the praise singer, the monotonous chant of the father of secrets, the piercing ring of the lion, going of the town crier? As you entered town, the virgins had painted themselves with camwood and were dancing in your honor. So she tried to remind him of the day that they went fighting and the day that they won. Okay? So she even talks about, I know you strike before you ask and you kill before a man can answer. But is it possible for you to forget your friend, the dancer, by his God insensitive to pain? He feels not the knife in his chest or the iron thrust through his tongue, yet he will wake up bleeding. So she's trying to like reason with him, like, why is it possible that you've really forgotten your friend? Because remember, Obatala was dressed as a mendicant priest, right? But then looking at the things that Obatala had said, it was not possible that Shango would forget Obatala so quickly and he would react so impulsively. So Shango's response to his wife was, I don't know what you're talking about, because when thunder strikes, it kills both friends and enemies alike. So it's his pride. I feel like Shango had already recognized who Obatala was, but because his pride was too vast, he did not want to accept that was Obatala or even try to forgive him and set him free. I say that because of the things that he says. So he said, if I should wake up bleeding tomorrow, let me die of it. The friend who betrayed me shall never be forgiven. If my right hand is leprous, let it rot and fall off. Oya, my wife, no other person can have tongue or lips to talk to me like you, yet I will forgive you even in this provocation. So Oya's conversation with Shango was more of she talks to him because she's the only person really that is mentioned in the whole play. So he acknowledges that even if her words towards him were not the words that he expected, because I feel like he expected her to just follow whatever that he said. So he tells her, even if I don't like what you've said, and even if what you've said has provoked me, you are still my favorite. Okay? So Shango then has a monologue where he talks about how Obatala made women of all of them. He talks about how Shango and Oya have this conversation. Shango, because he's still very furious, he tells his servants to bring his sword, and he talks about how Ogun, the god of war, will have a sacrifice today. He says for 3 days they're going to go into the villagers and then they're going to paint the whole town red. They're going to kill so many people that their blood would turn black on the ground. So he talks about how that's basically what he was saying. He was saying he was going to kill so many people that Ogun would be too full. Like he's going to sacrifice so many people to Ogun, because remember Ogun was the god of war. Scene 5 is still in Shango's palace, and it opens with the women singing praises to Ogun. I'm going to insert exactly what they said right here and right here. So as they're singing all these praises and as they're singing all these songs, Ogun is dancing. So when he's done dancing, he says how impressive Shango has been, how Shango has not been able to let his iron rest, how Shango has painted the town red, so much so that the water is red, and because you know the way when blood hardens it becomes black. So Ogun praises Shango for all those things. He praises him, he praises his strength, he praises his character. He talks about how he's fierce and how he rides fire like a horse. So when Ogun says all these things, Oya, Shango's wife, tells Ogun, saying, yeah, Shango is all those things, quite alright. However, ever since he left for war, each time a woman in his palace gets pregnant, either the pregnancy ends before the baby even matures, or both the woman and the child die in childbirth. Not only that, the corn in the land is eaten by worms and the yam is stringy. So Oya acknowledges that yes, Shango is very strong and he is a very good warrior. However, there is no longer prosperity in the kingdom of Oyo. So when Oya says all this, Ogun gets angry. He tells her, why would you be saying all these things that you're saying? So as they're having a conversation, Oya and Ogun, better drums start playing and Shango walks in. So upon his entry, the women start singing praises to Shango. Again, I'm going to put the praises that they were singing and the things that they were saying. So they sing all these praises to Shango, and yeah, and Oya welcomes the husband, saying, "Thank you, welcome back. You're welcome. However, in your absence, so many terrible things have happened. Women are no longer having kids. We no longer have food. So even if you've come back, because remember a long time ago, each time the conquerors conquered, they would get the properties of the people that lost the war. So they would get the monies, they would get the women, they would get the children. So Oya says, I am glad you are back and we are more wealthy than we were before you left. We have more cowries. Cowries was the currency that they were using. We have more cowries, we have more virgins in the land, you have more wives as the king. However, all this wealth that you have attained and all this money that you have brought cannot even buy a single yam, because we cannot grow food from our land. So when Oya is done, Ogun quickly jumps in and interrupts and says, why are you, Shango, don't listen to women, women just blab a lot. So then Shango responds and tells her, you're the only wife I have who has the guts to talk to me the way you do. However, I still need to forgive you because no one has black skin like you. No one has soft palms like liver like you do. So in fact, Oya even tells Shango, saying, I want you to call the father of secrets so we can find out what's really going on. So Shango, in his response to Oya, he says, fine, even if I don't like what you said, even if what you have said has pissed me off, I am still going to call the father of secrets. So it's after they started waiting for the father of secrets that Ogun starts telling Shango, don't listen to what this girl is saying. She doesn't know what she's saying. Don't listen to women and the things that women say. So as Ogun is saying all these things, the father of secret appears and he tells him, how do you expect, he tells him a story of a dog. Okay, so Babalao says a dog was mating with, a dog was mating. So the dog saw, the dog and the bitch that he was mating with interlocked. Okay, so but then the dog had seen another bitch, so he, instead of being patient and waiting for his manhood to go down, the dog decided to cut off his manhood. So he cut off his manhood and went to the new bitch that he had seen. While there, he couldn't have children with this bitch, so he called on to Oranmila. Yeah, Oranmila. I'm going to insert his name. I'm failing to pronounce it properly. He calls on to Oranmila and he goes to ask, find out why he could not have children anymore. So then Oranmila tells him, you cannot expect to have children when you cut off the instrument that gives you these children. So Babalawo then tells Shango, you cannot cut off a friendship and expect not to get hurt instead. You cannot arrest the father of laughter and expect to be happy. You cannot arrest the one who turns blood into children and expect to have children. So Shango then realizes his faults. It's at this moment that he realizes that, oh, actually what his wife was saying was true. Their village was cursed. So then Shango realizes and says, oh, I have brought curses upon my household. I've brought curses upon my children because all of the seed that I put into my women tend to poison. I poisoned them with my seed, and I poisoned my generation. So he realizes this, and he tells his servants to go and call Obatala and release him from prison. So Obatala walks in, is carried in by the servants wearing an immaculate white cloth. Okay. Upon seeing Obatala, Shango apologizes. The god of laughter, I am sorry. Please don't hold this against me. So they have this conversation that they have, and Obatala tells him, I hold nothing against you. I'm paraphrasing, okay? So Obatala then tells him, this was my fate. I was told by Babalao that this would happen, okay? I am paying for the sins I had committed. I got so drunk, and in my drunken state, I created a blind man, I created an albino, I created a hatchback. So I was just paying for my sins. So Eshu, the confuser of men, made it so that you could arrest me for the things I had done. Those exact words to Obatala were, I was like a patient who got cured, then killed the doctor. I am like, I was foolish like a knife that destroys its own sheath. Father, many words do not fill a basket. The most beautiful speech falls like water through a workawake of Father, oh Father of laughter. Try to forgive the injustice I have done to you. So Obatala says, he who admits his fault will not be kept kneeling for too long. The taste of friendship lingers in the mouth like bitter kola nut. Friendship is like close to virginity. It can never be undone. True friendship takes offense. I asked you to be patient. You were wildly impatient, and I loved you for it. I asked you to be peaceful. You steeped your arms in blood, but I still loved you for it. Okay? So after they have this conversation, they end up reconciling, because in as much as Obatala acknowledged Shango's actions, he still was hurt, because I mean, they were friends. Shango needed to have recognized Obatala and realized that his friend could not steal his horse. However, he was so prideful that he refused to accept that was Obatala. And also Obatala also accepted his fate because of his creations, okay? So when this happens, Oya starts dancing. Oya starts singing a chorus and bringing in the new yam. It has been pounded and lies in white bowls in the flat calabashes they carry, and they dance and sing. So Oya starts dancing. Oya starts dancing to the new yam. She sings, yam, 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 you are whiter than the keto ingret, whiter than the teeth, whiter than the gown of Obatala. Yam, oh yam, oh yam. You have a cup of meat, you have a gown of bitter leaf, you have trousers of fish. Yam, oh yam, oh yam. So after Oyo was done dancing to the song that she was singing, Ogun, the father of war, started saying these words. He started praising Obatala. He praised him. He called him the father of laughter, the one who turns blood into children. Your reign has begun, and I am going to retreat back to my black forest. So Ogun also mentions how he was going to start going in his forest and start observing the animals. He talked about the baboon and how it catches lice. He talked about an elephant and how it's able to pull down 2 palm trees. He spoke of the tiger. He spoke of the monkeys. He spoke of so many different animals that he would have to go back and observe, because now that war was over, he had no business being in Oyo or in Ife, the village where Obatala was from. So he even mentioned saying life and death cannot be in the same place for too long, and also they cannot be very far apart. Because eventually death needed to visit life. Okay, death needed to take some life. So Ogun retreats back to the dark forest. Excuse me. Ogun retreats back to the dark forest, and Shango is impressed by everything that happens. He says war is over now. Can we all let us all give praises to Obatala? He commands the women to go and be the drink that Obatala takes, while the rest of the village can drink palm wine. Okay, so it was a glorious occasion. Everyone was happy. Shango, is a glorious day. We will never have war. Like he said, war is done. It's a glorious day, and this day will be remembered. For Obatala, the father of laughter and the one who turns blood into children, has come to reign, and their villages will no longer see blood. In fact, he says the only blood that the villagers will see is the blood from antelopes, and the only carcass that the villagers will see is that of an antelope that's on the hunter's back on the way to the feast. So Shango declared that war was over, and it was now a new and happy time. So the soil is once more giving birth to yams, cassavas, and corn. Everywhere the black pots are now squatting, and the red fire licks their bottom. The father of laughter is once more protecting our women. Now the young bride will leave her father's house fearlessly, pretending only to weep, and she will shout wildly, "Let me have 7 times 200 children," and the snail circuit to Obatala will be offered to the altar of the Creator. So Shango declared that war was over, and it was now time to have peace and to be merry, because they now had enough yams, they now have enough cassava. The only murder that would be committed would be of that killing, of a hunter killing an antelope. Okay. Oh yeah, excuse me, I forgot to mention that Ogun, as he was giving praises to Obatala, and as he was talking about how he was going to retire to the forest, he said, "Now I have to be satisfied with the blood that comes from tattoos and the blood that comes from killing small animals." So Ogun was kind of like, his speech, for me, it appeared that it was more of a sarcastic tone than it was of a genuine tone, because in the beginning, remember when Oya and Ogun were having a conversation in the beginning, and she told him that now that Obatala has been imprisoned, our women are dying, right? And Ogun said so many things, so many evil things about Obatala. He said, "Let that man be arrested. He had his fair share of peace. So it's my time to reign now." So even as he is praising Obatala, to me it came out like he was being sarcastic about it. But maybe it's the way I read it. So anyway, after this, Babalao comes in and he gives a conclusion to the whole play, and he ties everything together. These are the words that he says. I'm blessing two, not one. This was prophesied to the sea lily that reaches down into the mud, the origin of creation. The time of creation has come. So it was now time of creation, and that's how the play ended. After Babalao leaves the stage, right, Eshu comes on stage and he has an epilogue. Okay, I'm assuming we all know what an epilogue is. If you don't know, please comment in the comment section so I can define what an epilogue is. But anyway, Eshu comes on stage with an epilogue, and he starts reminiscing. He starts talking about how the people have forgotten the rule of Ogun. He speaks about how they are now drunk with palm wine, that they're no longer even having lust because they are tired and they're overdrunk. He speaks about how the women will have a lot of children. Their children will be born, and immediately they are done breastfeeding, immediately they win off a child, they conceive another one. So he talks about how Obatala is in this is in heaven, like a swarm of bees just looking down on earth silently with no worry. And he speaks about how Ogun himself has been sent back to the forest to go and listen to the gossip of riverbeds. Okay, so Eshu praises Obatala, but he also talks about how Ogun will not be held captive for long. Ogun will not be in the forest for a long time, and the people have forgotten quickly. So he cautions, he talks about how the people have forgotten so quickly how their towns used to smell of blood. He says the only cold bodies that they now know is the body and the bodies of fish. He talks about the only red that they currently know is the red of palm oil and not blood. Talks about the stench that they now remember is the stench that they currently know is the stench of shit and not the stench of bodies, dead bodies. So he cautions them and tells them, oh, how quickly have you forgotten the stench of death? Oh, how quickly have you forgotten the rule of Ogun? But not to worry, Ogun will return and you come and complete what he has started. He says the awe of heaven, or the honor of heaven, will send him back on earth to come and confuse men so that Ogun will awaken. Even in all this, he still says Obatala's children still have a debt that they owe, and they'll still face the iron that the father had gotten rid of. Okay, so that's the end of the imprisonment of Obatala. Okay, so that's it. It all ends with women singing a song, and these are the words of the song. Okay, young ones never hear the death of cloth. Cloth only wears to shreds. Old ones never hear the death of cloth. Cloth only wears to shreds. Why am I failing to say this word correctly? Anyway, young ones never hear the death of Obatala. Cloth only wears to shreds. Old ones never hear the death of Obatala. Cloth only wears to shreds. And the curtain closes. So that was the imprisonment of Obatala. It's very short and very interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, the next video will be Maru, the final part. I'm not sure when that will be, but it will be before the exams. Okay, bye.